Good evening and welcome to Undoing I Do with Stephanie and a Day. I'm Stephanie Hunnell, the owner of the Hunnell Law Group in Asbury Park, New Jersey.
And I am Adela Sherilyn Dow, the owner of the law offices of Adela Sherilyn Dow in Staten Island, New York. How are you, Stephanie? We have a good friend of mine on, Mr. Yan Katsnelson, and I always say he's criminal attorney to the stars. Oh gosh, Jan has a practice in Staten Island and in New Jersey, and he practices all over New York City. Introduce yourself, Jan.
How are you, everyone? Yes, as Adele said, I have a practice in New York and New Jersey, travel all over the five boroughs and almost every single county in New Jersey, except not lower than Atlantic City. That's too long of a drive because usually I stop in Atlantic City and then it becomes a problem.
Yeah, right.
Welcome back.
Thank you. It's my second time. I'm happy to be back.
Thank you so much for gracing us with your presence. I know a lot of people are probably wondering, why are we doing this particular topic? Because we're going to be talking about Bryan Kohberger and the Idaho murders. And so that's why we have my friend Jan on to talk about the criminal aspects of the cases. But, as Stephanie and I discussed this, there's a lot of things that we could learn as people who are representing matrimonial clients, looking at what's going on with the Bryan Kohberger case and all of the evidence that's being turned over or has been turned over. So that's why you're here, because all of this criminal stuff, everybody should know. If y'all try to hire me for criminal, everybody going to jail. Y'all hire y'all.
Go ahead.
I think you're a great attorney, no matter what you do. So I think you're good.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. All three of us are real good attorneys, but listen,
but we also stay in our lane. I'm not doing anything.
Our lane. So Jan, Bryan Kohberger gets arrested. I think was it like December 30th or something like that. He recently gets arrested after allegedly committing these murders in Idaho. He is a PhD student in Washington. How did the police get this guy?
I mean, it's really a very interesting investigation, a very interesting case. For those of you that know me, know I'm not a big fan of the police, but I really have to say that they did a fantastic job on this investigation. I mean, just an incredible job of not only kind of taking the heat from all the sources of saying that, it was over a month that this guy was kind of out there and the police kept saying, we have no suspects, we have no evidence, we have nothing to go on. When in fact, they were doing, a fantastic investigation that spanned a better part of almost 2 months. And they went everywhere from checking the video cameras. Obviously, they spoke to the two remaining people that survived in the home. They checked the canvas, the neighborhood for videos. They spoke with the school security and kind of did an investigation as to who may have possessed the car that the suspect was driving. They really pulled cell phone service, not only for those 2 days, but after they were able to prove that he was in the neighborhood for those 2 days from November 12th to November 14th, they went back all the way to, I think, June or July, and were able to show how many times he was by the house, how long he was by the house. I know one of the outlets reported that he had messaged one of the deceased girls on Instagram a number of times. So, I mean, they did a really, really good job with this investigation. And that's not even mentioning how they were able to get his father's DNA to tie him to the crime, not the father, but the son, and really kind of exclude, I think they said 99% of the male population. So I mean,
that is crazy. Yeah. And let's talk about that, because I told the anecdote before we got on about, this whole garbage bag thing. People don't realize, and this is really important even to our matrimonial folks, people who are dealing with either divorces or people who are dealing with family offense or restraining orders in New Jersey. This whole thing about how the police were able to find the father's DNA by going through the garbage. Is it only the police that can go through your garbage?
Well, the police technically can't just go through your garbage. They can't go into your home and go through your garbage. But the law does say that once you put items in the garbage and put that garbage to the street, waiting for it to be picked up, and in some cases even put in the garbage cans by your house, you no longer have a privacy interest in those items. So they can go in there without a search warrant and look for whatever they want. And obviously, as you two ladies know, that when it's a private individual doing this, there is no constitutional violation. So as long as they're not, again, breaking into your house to look through the garbage, it's all fair game in a divorce or matrimonial case.
Listen, for all of you Staten Islanders who are like, oh my gosh, these people keep going through the garbage and taking the cans. Bump the cans because it's not about the cans. There's a whole bunch of other stuff that they can get. That's why it's so important to shred your documents. Don't, if you can. I mean, we throw out so much stuff that has DNA on it, but you got to be so careful about what you put into the garbage. I'm not telling everybody to go out and burn all their stuff, but you just have to be really careful because any of us could, once your garbage is on the curb, go through your garbage. I had that situation in the divorce case where my adversary was trying to show that my client was cohabitating with someone so that he could terminate the alimony claim. And he wanted to show that my client was cohabitating with a boyfriend. So he goes through the garbage and happens upon receipts for men's shoes and then tries to bring those receipts into evidence. Thankfully, I was able to not have that happen, but there was no constitutional issue. He hadn't broken a criminal law.
No, it's all fair game, and it's going to be up to the judge to kind of let that in and do with it what he or she will do in deciding the case. But yeah, anything you put out in the garbage, like you said, it's all fair game. And anybody, whether it's the police, your ex-wife or your ex-husband, or that the person down the block can certainly use it. And it was definitely used in this case. As Aid, you said, the police went through his father's garbage in Pennsylvania. So the Idaho police had contacted the Pennsylvania police and asked them to go through his garbage, and they were able to find, I forget what the exact item was, but they were able to find an item with the father's DNA. They had it tested, and it came back to somebody that could be the father of the suspect. And basically, the lab report said that 99% of the male population in the U.S. could be excluded because of that DNA test. So,
you know what I thought, Yan, was pretty interesting, and I don't know if it's used very often, but they also trace the genetic DNA. So I read an article that they were using like the genetic DNA, which is like, I don't know, like 24andMe type of thing, where somebody elects to have their DNA shared and then they trace the familial history. And that's like how they started their research before they even got to the point of looking in the father's trash can.
Yep, that's exactly right. And that is one of the first things I tell people all the time. Those test kits seem great. It would be wonderful to find out who your ancestors were and where, you kind of your family and you came from. But all those companies not only regularly share, but basically put your DNA information into the FBI database. And there have been numerous cases of people that were, that were arrested, had their DNA run, and all of a sudden they popped up, or they were unsolved crimes where the police just ran the DNA, and it turns out, oh, look, it was so-and-so from, state XYZ that committed this, and they were able to arrest that person.
I'm just going to have to not know my history. I'm sorry. I know where some of my family's from. It's cool. I'm good. I'm not trying to be involved in any police investigations. Anyway, shout out to somebody who said, love you, Miss Dow. Love you too, Jamie. Love you too. Thank you for watching. Everybody be in the comments, even if it's later. All the replay people, be in the comments. We read them. Yeah, that I actually have wanted to do like ancestry and stuff, and every time I think about it, I think about this. I do not want to be responsible for some long lost cousin getting in a jam and then they come back on me. Once again, I got kids. I'm not trying to be involved.
Yeah, I have a DNA kit sitting here that I got as a gift at least 3 years ago, and I'm like, I just have not done it.
Who is that a gift for? That's not really a gift for you. No.
Yeah, I don't trust any, the whole Alexas and the Google things. Those, nope, not in my house.
So now let me ask you a question. First of all, I don't have Alexa either because I'm so paranoid. They say that these things are always listening to you. And we know that it's true because you could be on Facebook or whatever, and you went ahead and talked to somebody about going to the Macy's sale. And all of a sudden, Macy's stuff is on your Facebook page, right? So, and that brings me to this whole thing about the cell phone. I watch enough first 48. I do still not understand why people are like not just leaving if you're going to commit a crime, don't bring your cell phone. Like this dude allegedly was at these people's house 12 times. You don't know how to get there? What you need a cell phone for? Who were you calling?
The night of the murder, he brought the cell phone with him also and didn't turn it off until like he was a few blocks away, I think, and then turned it off between like the hours of 2:30 and 4:30 or something, and then it went back on.
Correct.
Was he trying to get caught?
I don't know. I don't know if he brought it with him or he left it somewhere else because, as you said, yes, Stephanie, he did turn it off from 2:30 to about 4:30 when his vehicle was seen speeding away from the location. But yes, no, I mean, again, so the way it works is your cell phone connects to a certain tower, right? That your cell phone pings off 2 different towers, kind of creates a triangle, and that is how you're able to connect to the global cell phone network. But those towers keep a record. So everywhere you go, if your phone is connected to the network, that record is kept to see which towers the phone is pinging off.
Wow.
And what the police did here was they were able to basically, after finding out that he was the suspect, or kind of narrowing down to him based on the vehicle, they saw that vehicle was stopped sometime in September, October, and he gave the police a cell phone number because I think he was given a court citation. And so the police then got a warrant. The judge signed the warrant, and they went to AT&T, gave him the warrant, and it was for the dates of November 12th to the 14th. So that warrant itself showed that he was in the neighborhood around the times of the murders, or the day of the murders, about 4 times that he went there. Yep.
Do you know if the warrant and the information that was returned, was it related to the towers in the area, or was it related to the GPS data? Because all of our smartphones now, if we have GPS, so that way if we want a restaurant near me, we just say restaurant near me and it knows where we're at. And if you look at your GPS history, you could see like where you've traveled over time. Like they know when I've stopped at the grocery store, how long I was there, everything.
So to get the GPS data, they would essentially need to do what's called a phone dump, right? They can't just so that warrant was based on the cell towers that were pinging off, and the affidavit that was released kind of states that it was pinged off the towers that service that area. So in order to get the GPS data, what essentially needs to happen is once they get the phone, right, they need a search warrant to then go into the phone and dump all the information that's on the phone on there. And then they're able to get that from there. But in this case, it was from the cell phone tower that the GPS pinged off. And then they were able to basically corroborate the cell phone towers with the location of the car that they determined earlier, all over the place, all over Idaho, and I guess Moscow, Idaho,
Right.
that the town he was in. So I guess kind of backtracking a little bit, they went and got the surveillance footage from the neighbor. So, that's the other thing that we have to start realizing. Everybody and their mother has a Ring camera on their
Everybody got
door.
a ring. Everybody got a ring.
Ring, an Arlo, or whatever else that is now out there.
Yeah.
And, you can't go a block without being picked up on somebody's surveillance video. And
People
so
realize this, and and we deal with this in our order of protection cases and our restraining order cases as well. You're coming up to the house, and some people are so ridiculous. We do this, and even the criminal cases, the first thing they do is look at the ring and then take it off. Hello, we already saw your face. And if you're driving past, you don't know how people have their rings angled. Even if it's not the doorbell ring, has the lights now. There's all kinds of angles that people can get.
Right. I'm using it right now in a case for a custody parenting time dispute and issues about behavior during parenting time. Back in the day, we used to have issues where people were constantly recording during the pickup and drop off. Now you don't have to do that. They're just going in and getting the Ring camera footage, and you can see and hear exactly what's happening.
You have to assume that you're always on camera. You have to assume that you're always being recorded. And please do not come to any of us talking about, but I didn't know that I was being recorded. In the states of New York and New Jersey, you do not have to know. Nobody has to tell you that your conversation is being recorded. Nobody has to tell you that you're being recorded. It's just, as long as they're a party to the conversation, they can record you.
Yeah, hopefully they get you good side. You know what I mean?
Hopefully, I don't have a bad side. So and I'm not gonna misbehave out there in these streets.
I do. It looks like this part of my head is.
So Yan, in a typical order of protection case, let's say that you're representing somebody on an order of protection case in the state of New Jersey, can you obtain this type of cell phone information in that type of case? If you're representing a litigant,
you can. Again, you would need the judge's permission to obtain that, unless it's your client's cell phone. Your client can always certainly reach out to the provider, whether it's AT&T or T-Mobile, Verizon, whoever it is, and ask for the cell site data and they can themselves provide the GPS tracking. Now, I guess if this was a family case, you would need to subpoena their records, and you would need the judge to do that, because a lot of the providers will not provide you the documents unless the subpoena is ordered by the judge. But yes, and it's it's very easy to get. The providers do not fight a subpoena. That's all they need. So, yeah. But so going back, not only was Brian's car picked up by the Ring footage and other surveillance footage, but then the police kind of went outside, and every single road you drive on has some kind of, whether it's NYPD here in New York, Jersey Turnpike cameras, you're all over the place. And they are able to kind of identify you with a plate tracker. So anytime I have this in a case right now, when my client was going over the bridge, they were able to identify his car at the exact time that he crossed the bridge because of a plate tracker. So they were able to kind of follow the route of the suspect's car by using all the other video footages. And then when they were able to get the cell tower data, they were able to kind of corroborate his path because they had the videos and the cell tower data, and it was an approximate location. So,
it's so interesting. I watch a lot of BBC, like the British shows. These they all have CCTV, and they're like on every corner, everywhere. Yeah. Everybody has them. And it seems like we were not there yet, but we're becoming more like that. There's more cameras around. There's more ways to track you, like you were saying about the license plate camera. It's kind of scary how much your life is out there.
Brother, yeah.
And I think, kind of put my little tinfoil hat on for a second, but I think we've been there for at least a decade, and we're not told, but anywhere you go, if you look up, you're going to probably see, again, here on Staten Island, you're going to see an NYPD camera. A lot of the intersections have NYPD cameras. There are traffic cameras. There used to be a channel, there might still be one on Verizon, where they would show you the different points of the West Shore Expressway or the Staten Island Expressway and show you how the traffic is moving. So again, they have a way to watch everyone.
So Jamie Tramutola says, I mean, look at what I dealt with. I don't think the cell phone pings would make any difference. They would be waving at the cameras thinking they were famous. That's the arrogance. You see, she's absolutely right. So that is the arrogance. People, I truly don't think that some of these people realize how sophisticated this stuff is. And this is not a joke. And there are people in our cases who are like, oh, I don't give a F about the camera. You want to film me? Film me. Go right ahead. And I don't know whether it's arrogance or stupidity. I'm not sure. Don't nobody take offense, but I'm just telling you, if it hits you like that, then you need to reassess yourself. Okay. But obviously there are people out there who just don't give a daggone, and they're just going to do whatever they want to do. So if that's you, let's just not get upset. Let's not get upset. You're just setting yourself up.
But for how long have we been getting text messages and emails where people, they know what they're writing. They know when they're hitting send, and they don't care how much they incriminate themselves or what they sound like. They know that email is going to get printed, that text message is going to be printed and go right to the judge. They don't care. So why would they care about cameras?
They don't care. And it's like, they're just going to abuse. I have a case like that right now, where the person is writing all this stuff, and then they're like, they write all this stuff. They want to be all big and bad. And then it's, I'm not going to talk to you. Go talk to my lawyer. Well, you've already done this here, and your lawyer's not going to save you from what you've already done to yourself. Yep. We are not magicians. Okay. We can try to stitch together stuff, but at the end of the day, you're in charge of your own, you have agency over yourself.
I tell clients a lot of times, I don't have a magic wand, right? I could certainly mitigate the damage and try to minimize it, but I can't just, click my heels and take you home and make believe this never happened.
Right. This is not Never Land.
It always does amaze me, though. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
It always does amaze me, though, and whether it's on the 48-hour show or even real life in my practice, the amount of people who have been arrested numerous times know that anything you say to the police 100% will be used against you. Know that they will take certain parts of your statement out of context and use it against you, and yet they still sit there in the room, interrogation room, knowing they're being filmed, and go on for 30 minutes about how they did this and they did that, and and then look at me like, but I mean, they can't use that.
Really? Yeah. Oh, they didn't read me my Miranda right. That's always the one. Oh, they didn't read me my rights. Okay. Yeah. So I'm wondering how long this whole case could possibly take. Like, we don't practice in Idaho, but I know that he had a court appearance last Thursday, and then his next court appearance isn't until June. And people are saying, oh my gosh, why is this going to take so long? Because this is a big damn deal. It's going to take prosecution and defense months and months and months to figure all of this out. There's definitely a link that they're trying to find between Brian and the girls. I think that there probably is a link now that we know that he was messaging one of the girls. And it's not clear whether the girl that he was messaging, the deceased that he was messaging, actually even ever saw his messages, because we all have Instagram, and that some of the messages go into this box that you don't actually see the messages until you purposefully click on them. So I mean, what was the motive? We don't know, but it seems like, go ahead.
Didn't one of them, or was it just a rumor or something, that one of them was complaining about thinking they were being stalked?
That's true. That is true.
Yeah, I think one of them did.
I think it's the Gonsalves young lady who was complaining to her dad about possibly having a stalker. I mean, was that Brian? You know, and again, this is all alleged, but
correct. So yeah, it's interesting. Did she see him a couple times when he was by the house and sitting in front of the house or driving by the house? It's going to be interesting. But to kind of go into your first part of that question was how long can it take? You know, a murder case can take a long time. There is no speedy trial act or is speedy trial time on a murder case. That could take however long the state needs to prove its case and to kind of gather all the evidence and gather all the witnesses. And obviously, in a case like this, I don't really see them making a plea offer unless it's to kind of take the death sentence off. But I don't believe Idaho has a death sentence, so it might be just life, and that will be the offer. But as a criminal defense attorney, normally if that's the offer, there's really nothing to lose at taking the case to trial.
Yeah.
I mean, they might give you 4 life sentences, to run back to back, but that really doesn't matter.
And depending upon who this person is, I mean, there's all kinds of speculation about whether he then was on social media trying to pose as somebody else, talking about the murders, and getting into Facebook groups that were discussing the murder and posing as some other person. So, we don't know. And again, it's all alleged. But if that really is the personality of the person who killed these college students, he may actually like the idea of going to trial, because it gives him more notoriety. It gives him more time in the sun, more spotlight, more of his 15 minutes extended. So, whereas somebody else might just say, okay, well, let me just figure out what this plea is. I don't know. I feel like if that's his personality, he's not about to do that.
Well, it's very interesting that he kind of was, he was a criminology major. He was trying to, I think he had applied for a position within the Idaho Police Department, the local police department there, to kind of study criminology with them. He also put out
record keeping or something. He wanted to be an intern or something for the record keep. Yeah.
Yep. And he on Reddit had put out a request for people to, I guess, message him so he could ask. He was doing a study.
Yeah.
People who commit crimes, what their personalities help them kind of make decisions and the type of decisions they make committing crime. So this kind of can be, his own study in some regards. And because it was, again, he certainly made a lot of mistakes, and the police did a fantastic job in investigating.
They sure did.
Yeah, and it was a cooperation between multi-states, also the FBI, because like you said, they had police in Pennsylvania looking through the trash, even though this happened in Idaho. Plus, they were tracking his father, or I don't know if it was the white vehicle, but him and his father had driven across country, so they tracked them through multi-states. Which I thought was interesting. And they pulled one police officer. He got pulled over twice, I think, before they were arrested, before he was arrested. I just thought that was, in such a short amount of time, they really did a lot of minutia.
Correct. And, how they kind of came upon the vehicle was they reached out to the FBI, and they had an FBI agent, 35 years of experience, look at all the video surveillance and pictures of the car and kind of determine that this was a white Impala. First, I think he had the years from 2011 to 2016. And then as more footage and more pictures came in, he was able to narrow it down to like a 2014 to 2016.
Yeah. It was a Hyundai. Was it a Elantra? It was a Hyundai Elantra.
Right.
A Hyundai Elantra. Yeah, and the craziest thing about it is, I mean, if you see the video, there's really not a lot of body cam video of the one particular pullover, that the stop that I'm thinking about. But this dude looks totally caught. He looks like, oh my God, they're about to arrest me.
Mhm.
I mean, he doesn't look like it doesn't to me look like a normal traffic stop, like, oh dang, I done sped or something like that. And so the fact that the police literally worked together to set this guy up. These
Yeah.
stops were, people were thinking, oh, these stops were just coincidental. Can you believe it? Oh my gosh, it was stopped. No, that wasn't a coincidence.
Well, exactly. I think the Idaho police, I forget what state had pulled him over the first time, but they specifically requested that they take a look at his hands to determine whether he had any defensive wounds and things like that. So no, it was fantastic. Like, it was set up, total cooperation between all police departments, and like I said, they did a fantastic job.
I think they also did a great job of getting rid of a lot of the noise, because I think for the first few weeks, the social media frenzy with around this case, with people giving tips based on what they saw on Instagram, these people in the background. I know there was like teachers and there was all these people being accused. And so simultaneously they had to, rule those people out and make public statements, so that way some people's reputations weren't damaged. And they did a great job doing that and kind of saying, we don't really have evidence yet, but in the background, they really were getting a ton of evidence and really building a solid case, it sounds like.
I think the suspect had left a night shear under one of the girls' bodies.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
They were able to pull his DNA off the button of the shear, and they had that kind of from the beginning. So once they were able to get his dad's DNA, they were able to compare it and go from there. So it was, again, they had a lot of evidence from day one, but like you said, Steph, they did a fantastic job of kind of going out there and saying, we don't have anything. I don't know. We don't know what's going on. So,
we don't know. Yeah. They did a fantastic job at that. And no matter how much they were pressed by the press, they were just not giving in. And I really felt badly for the parents. There's one particular set of parents that's really just very vocal about this and out there giving interviews and things like that. And I just can't imagine. I can't imagine how they feel. But that whole thing with the knife sheath, I was floored. There is no perfect crime. I don't know. Maybe he was stunned. I don't know what happened. But when you read the affidavit and you hear the one survivor's story about how he passed her by, I mean, we don't really know whether he saw her. We know she saw him, but to even say, oh my, he had bushy eyebrows. I mean,
yes. I mean,
how close to him did she have to be?
That's the first thing I kind of thought of. And the fact that he walked right by her, right? And to say that he didn't see her, maybe he was kind of trying to get out and know that what he came there to do was done.
Right.
And, the next part of his plan is to get out of the location. And he kind of had a tunnel vision in that regard and really didn't see her. But I mean, it's to walk right by somebody, not see them. And thankfully she was alive to kind of tell the story. And when they were able to get his physical kind of traits, they matched up to what the description that she gave him.
Yeah.
So that was.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to hearing more about how that scenario played out, because that just seems so scary to me. And I know that she is certainly going through a lot of trauma just by virtue of what happened, but she has to be thanking her lucky stars every day that she was spared, and the other roommate as well. There's a lot of talk about why it took so long for the police to be called and all of this, but I don't know. I feel like people freeze. You don't know what's going to happen when you're in that type of situation. You really don't know how you're going to react. We don't know whether it really took so long, and if it did, why it took so long for the police to be called. But I could imagine being scared to death that somebody was still out there.
Yeah, somebody that walked right by you, probably.
Right.
If you were able to see, how bushy his eyebrows are, you probably, he saw you. So, and you had no idea. And the fact that he was able to get into the house, right, without really making that much noise. Now, I know in the affidavit it said that she
Right.
first heard one of the girls say, "There's somebody in here."
Somebody in here, yeah.
She looked out her door, didn't see anybody. Looked out the window, didn't see anybody. Went back to kind of her bed or whatever she was doing, and then later on she heard the dog barking and one of the girls crying. And it's alleged that when she opened the door the second time, she heard a male voice say, "Don't worry, I'm here to help you."
Right.
Mhm.
Right? And she still heard the girl crying. I mean, all that. And then for the third time to kind of open the door again because she heard a loud thud,
Right.
and then see this kind of dark figure walk by her. I mean, that certainly does a lot to your mental state. And unfortunately, hopefully she'll be okay. But that scars a lot of people. And
Absolutely.
I agree with you, Wade. The people react different to almost every single situation. I think one of the problems is we usually see somebody, whether it's on the news, and say, "Well, why isn't that person crying? And why didn't they call the cops? Or why didn't they do that? If this was my loved one that just got killed, and I wasn't the person who did it, I would be all over the news crying, and I would be doing this, and I would be doing that." And we just don't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah. You just don't know. And I mean that it's traumatizing. I had to live recently through a situation where somebody who was close to me was murdered. And you just, the reaction, I can't imagine being there. The reaction of, knowing that this happened and not being there is enough. So, for anybody who is out there on social media, like really judging this girl and the other surviving roommate, you're just gonna need to check yourself, because none of us really know what it's like to be, thankfully most of us don't really know what it's like to be in that type of situation. And you have to give people the grace that they deserve. But I think that this is going to be, if this case goes to trial, this is going to be probably one of the most watched trials, next to like Amber and
Johnny Depp.
and Johnny Depp, or like what's the guy? Oh my gosh, O.J. Simpson.
Oh,
this
yeah.
is gonna be one of those level of trials. And my gut, I mean, we could always come back later. People in the peanut gallery, let us know. But I think that this guy is going to take this case to trial. I do not think there's going to be a plea, but we'll see, because I think he wants to be a whole student. He wants to be a student of this entire system.
I kind of agree with you, but we could also come back and discuss the Massachusetts murder of the man accused of killing his wife recently.
Oh, is that the one? Wait,
I forget his last name.
Is that the one where he killed her with the hammer? Is that a different one?
Maybe a different one. I'm not
Oh,
sure.
the one where he was Googling how do you get rid of 14-pound body, and
oh my gosh,
Yeah.
I haven't heard about this one. So I have to
his search
to look
history
that
was
one up.
crazy.
I have to research that. That's crazy, because the other one that I was looking at was the Shanquella Robinson one from Cabo, the Cabo 6, where this young lady, a Black girl, goes, she's 25 at the time. I think she just had a 26th birthday. And she's going to Cabo to celebrate the birthday of another friend. And she gets beaten to death by her friends in Mexico.
And it's on video.
And it's on video. The girl's beaten to death, naked as a jaybird, beaten to death. And they just leave the body, they just leave the body there. And then they try to say, I know, Jamie, like, it was crazy. Those are your friends? Like, these are your friends?
And they make up some story about what happened, that she was drunk and had like alcohol poisoning or something.
I mean, meanwhile, the girl's neck was completely snapped. And Jamie is right. They recorded it. I mean, what is wrong with people? I don't know what's wrong with people, but
they recorded it and then didn't even delete it.
Right. And then it ends up on social media, and people, and at first the parents really thought that this girl died of alcohol poisoning. I mean, it's just, people, be careful. Correct. Don't commit crime. We're not here to tell you how to commit crimes. Do not commit a crime. But if you're jammed up, call our friend Yan. You
Yes.
know, Yan is an awesome resource both in New York and New Jersey. It's been great talking to you both.
It's always a pleasure. Thank you for having me, and I look forward to coming on again. Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Comment, share.
Yes.
Oh, we didn't say this is our premiere episode for 2023. Happy New Year, everybody. All right. See you in the next 2 weeks.